What happens when the world's most famous teenager suddenly becomes its biggest mystery? In 2018, Courtney Hadwin didn't just audition for America's Got Talent. She detonated a bomb under the judge's table. With a voice that sounded like it had been cured in smoke and whiskey for 50 years, she was instantly labeled the second coming of rock royalty. But as the glitter settled and the cameras stopped rolling, the trail went cold. For years, fans have been asking the same question. Did the industry break Courtney Hadwin, or was she just waiting for the right moment to burn it all down? Today, we are breaking down the 2026 comeback that is rewriting the rules of the music business. Imagine being 13 years old and having the ghost of rock and roll possess your body in front of 15 million people. That is exactly what happened when Courtney Hadwin stepped onto the AGT stage. A girl so painfully shy she could barely whisper her own name to Tyra Banks. But the moment the music started, the shy schoolgirl vanished, replaced by a whirlwind of frantic energy and vocal grit that left the world speechless. Howie Mandel didn't just give her a golden buzzer, he gave her a legacy to live up to, comparing her to the legendary Janis Joplin. This was the moment that changed everything, but it also placed a crushing weight on a child's shoulders. The clip went viral instantly, racking up hundreds of millions of views across every social platform imaginable. It was a fairy tale start, the kind of launchpad most artists would give anything for. Suddenly, Courtney was no longer a student from a small village in County Durham. She was a global property, a brand that the biggest names in the business were desperate to own. The hype was deafening, and the expectations were set at an impossible height. Every news outlet was calling her the next big thing, and the industry giants were circling like sharks in a feeding frenzy. At that moment, it seemed like her path to superstardom was a straight line, but as we've seen so many times before, the brightest lights often cast the darkest shadows. The world was ready for her debut album, but instead of a chart-topping record, what followed was a silence so profound it was almost deafening. We have to look at what happens when a viral moment meets the cold reality of the corporate music machine. While the public waited for a hit single, Courtney was quietly drowning in a sea of red tape and corporate restructuring. Following her meteoric rise on television, she was whisked away into the inner sanctum of Simon Cowell's Syco Music and Arista Records. On paper, it was a dream deal, the most powerful man in music taking a direct interest in her development. However, the reality was far more complicated. Behind the scenes, the Syco empire was beginning to fracture. Reports surfaced that the label was shifting its entire business model, eventually leading to a total shutdown of its music division. For an artist like Courtney, this was a worst-case scenario. She wasn't just another singer. She was a developing talent who needed guidance, but instead, she found herself caught in a legal limbo. She was technically under contract, which meant she couldn't release music on her own, yet the label that held her rights was essentially in a state of collapse. This was the creative prison that many insiders whispered about. For years, her fans were left with nothing but sporadic social media updates and the occasional cover song, leading to wild speculation about why she wasn't releasing original material. Was she being silenced? Was she being forced to change her sound? Sources close to the situation suggest that there was a fundamental clash between Courtney's raw, rock and roll instincts and the label's desire for a more commercial, polished pop sound. They wanted a product they could sell to the masses. She wanted to stay true to the soul that made her famous. This tug-of-war lasted for years, effectively stalling her career during what should have been her most productive era. It's a sobering reminder that in the music industry, a contract can be a cage just as easily as it can be a key. When a star disappears at the height of their fame, the internet fills the void with some of the most bizarre and damaging rumors imaginable. As the years passed without a major release, the narrative around Courtney began to turn sour. Speculation ran wild on forums and gossip sites, with some claiming she had lost her voice due to the intense strain of her performance style. Others suggested she had been offed by the pressure of fame, using coded language to hint at a total mental collapse or issues with substances that often plague child stars. These accusations surfaced with no evidence, yet they gained traction because of the vacuum of information. The truth, however, was much more grounded and in many ways more frustrating. Courtney wasn't hiding because she was broken. She was hiding because she was fighting. During these shadow years, she was growing up under a microscope, trying to navigate the transition from a child prodigy to a young woman with her own agency. There were whispers that she had become difficult to work with, a common label used by the industry for any artist who refuses to follow orders. In reality, she was rejecting the cookie-cutter pop songs being shoved her way. She saw what happened to other talent show winners who were turned into one-hit wonders, and she refused to let that be her story. While the world thought she was becoming a has-been, Courtney was actually studying the business, learning how to produce her own music, and waiting for her legal shackles to finally loosen. She was playing the long game, realizing that it was better to be forgotten for a moment than to be remembered for the wrong reasons. The resilience she showed during this period is what ultimately set the stage for the explosive return we are witnessing now in 2026. You can only keep a fire contained for so long before it eventually burns the house down. In late 2025, the music industry was caught off guard when Courtney Hadwin finally emerged from the wreckage of her previous contracts, but she didn't come back with a major label backing her. Instead, she chose the path of total independence. This was the 2026 comeback that no one saw coming, a move that saw her reclaim her masters and her creative voice. She officially debuted a sound that was far grittier and more authentic than anything the labels had planned for her. Her new work, led by tracks like Little Miss Jagged, felt like a visceral reaction to the years she spent being told what to do. In February 2026, she returned to the stage in London, not as a nervous contestant, but as a commanding frontwoman for her own band. The footage from these live shows reveals an artist who has finally found her footing. The karaoke comparisons are gone. She is now writing her own lyrics, directing her own visuals, and building a direct connection with her audience without a corporate middleman. This independence has allowed her to be raw and honest about her experiences, including the darker aspects of her journey. She's using her platform to show that there is life after the golden buzzer, and that you don't need a massive machine behind you to make an impact. The industry insiders who once tried to mold her are now watching from the sidelines as she builds a loyal, grassroots following that values her authenticity over her marketability. It is a stunning reversal of fortune and a blueprint for how modern artists can take back control of their careers in an era where the old rules no longer apply. Even the man who discovered her has had to admit that he might have gotten it wrong. Recently, Simon Cowell has spoken out about Courtney's journey, and his tone has shifted from one of ownership to one of genuine respect. Speculation has reached a fever pitch that Cowell actually regrets how her initial career was handled, seeing her now as the rock icon that got away. It's a rare admission from an industry titan, and it highlights a massive shift in how we view child stars in 2026. Courtney's story is no longer a tragedy about a lost talent. It's a victory lap for an artist who refused to be a victim. She has successfully navigated the golden buzzer curse, a phenomenon where early success leads to a rapid decline. By choosing to step away and rebuild on her own terms, she has ensured that her career will be defined by her music, not her audition clip. As we look at the landscape of entertainment today, her journey serves as a powerful cautionary tale and an inspiration. It reminds us that the overnight success is often just the beginning of a much harder battle for identity. Courtney Hadwin survived the machine, outlasted the rumors, and came out the other side with her soul intact. Her 2026 comeback isn't just a win for her. It's a win for every artist who has ever been told they weren't enough as they are. The question isn't what happened to Courtney Hadwin anymore. The question is, just how far can she go now that no one is holding her back? As she prepares for a global tour and more independent releases, It's clear that the shy girl from the AGT stage is gone for good, and in her place is a legend in the making. Courtney Hadwin's journey from a viral sensation to an independent rock powerhouse is a masterclass in resilience. She proved that you don't have to be a product to be a star, and that sometimes the best thing you can do for your career is to walk away until you can come back as yourself. Her story leaves us with a provocative thought. In an age where fame is manufactured by algorithms and labels, is the only way to find true success to lose yourself first? Courtney found her way back, but many others aren't so lucky. As she continues to dominate the independent charts in 2026, she stands as a reminder that the loudest voice in the room is usually the one that refuses to be silenced. Wait before you go. Do you think the industry is becoming too dangerous for young talent, or is this just the price of admission for global fame? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.